I'm Craig Kenneth, a relationship coach and a psychotherapist. Every relationship is different and every breakup is different. Work with me and you'll get professional help on your situation. And if you're in no contact, focused on personal growth, my workbook series, The Knowledge, will help you make changes like you've never made before. Available now at AskCraig.net. Hi there, I'm Coach Craig Kenneth.
I'm Coach Margaret.
And I'm Coach Victoria.
And today we wanted to talk about, should I reach out to my ex for Christmas?
A big topic.
Mm-hmm.
A very challenging time of year when you're going through a breakup.
Oh, very difficult. Yeah.
And, I remember going through it in my own breakups,
Right.
how you just kind of agonize. And it's not just that day, it's leading up to that day that's torture.
Yeah.
Just you're constantly thinking about, will they reach out on that day?
Mm-hmm.
Should I buy them a gift just in case?
Right? Or you may have had plans together for Christmas.
Sure.
Mm-hmm. So we understand that when you're going through a breakup, special days, holidays are even more challenging and more difficult because chances are you celebrated Christmas with them last year.
Or even the year before that.
Yeah.
Right.
And so, we want to talk about this overwhelming need to feel like you have to reach out. Because we kind of fantasize when we're going through a breakup.
Right.
That, all of these magical things are going to make it happen like it happens in the movies.
Mm-hmm.
But oftentimes, real life has it backwards from the movies, right?
Right.
The grand gesture works in the movies and things like that. But in real life, that's not how we seem to operate. It seems to be that the building up of the missing the person and realizing what it's like to be without them is the thing that impacts them the most.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And also saying Merry Christmas might seem like an inconspicuous thing to say. So you might think, why not? Why not just wish them Merry Christmas?
Mm-hmm.
They might not think that I'm acting needy or wanting to repair the relationship by just a simple message. But we are going to talk a little bit about why we think you should not reach out and why it's important, especially if you're trying to repair the relationship and reattract your ex.
Yeah, one of the things that I remember is like having bought gifts already.
Right.
Right? So now you have these gifts. And I've talked to people over the years that have had personalized gifts. Right? That they're like, what am I going to do with these personalized items that I can't give to anybody else?
Right.
And I'm like, you're probably going to overwhelm them if you give them to them. I know you really want to, and I know you spent the money on it, but it's likely just going to overwhelm that person because, now it makes them feel like you haven't moved on, they haven't lost you.
Right. Not what you want.
Yeah.
Right, and I think it's also dependent on how far your breakup is to Christmas. Like if you break up right before Christmas, that's a lot different than breaking up in January, let's say.
Yeah, a long time ago.
Yeah.
Exactly. Sure. But, even if you got that personalized gift, I wouldn't give it to the person.
No.
Not if you're really trying to repair the romantic relationship because it's probably going to overwhelm them.
Mm-hmm.
I know it seems like they'll get this special gift and then they'll be like, oh, they really care about me and then they're going to want me back.
Well, that's the hope and the fantasy, sure.
But it doesn't work like that.
No, I wish it did, but it doesn't.
It would be so much easier to navigate a breakup if it did work like that.
It did work like that.
Right?
Right.
So I would recommend that if you already bought them a gift, don't give it to them. If for some reason they wind up sending you a gift or wanting to exchange gifts, that's another story. But I wouldn't want it to be like something really expensive.
No. No.
Because I think that would overwhelm them.
Sure.
Right? So I would steer clear from giving the gifts unless you absolutely are in contact with them and they're giving you a gift and maybe they say it first. But don't give them anything that's going to overwhelm them.
Right.
Okay?
Another thing that can make Christmas especially difficult is the family aspect. So Christmas is one of those times, and the holidays in general, where you see families together. It's about that togetherness. And so you might have grown very close to your ex's family. And so you might be compelled to wish them a Merry Christmas, to have some sort of contact, to have some sort of holiday greeting, especially if you've had many years together and have celebrated many Christmases. It's going to feel very different. It's going to feel very uncomfortable to not have that contact in the same way.
Yeah, you feel guilty.
Sure.
You're like, well,
Sure.
why can't I continue talking with these people? I care about them. They love me. I love them. And I get it. I've been there. But I wouldn't reach out to them.
No.
If they reach out to you, of course, I would say reply, be polite, be kind, talk to them how you would normally talk to them. But if you reach out to them, what's going to happen, Margaret?
Well, they're going to go right back and they're going to start to get uncomfortable that you're harassing their progeny. Yeah,
They're going to feel like it's an intrusion.
exactly.
Right?
Yeah. And that I think you have to be very careful of, particularly if you're dealing with someone who's a bit avoidant. That what the rest of us would consider a reach out seems to them to be an intrusion.
Yep.
Okay? I asked you for space and you didn't give it to me. All right? So it's very difficult.
And, I think that really hurts the attraction, too.
I think so, too.
Because I think the person winds up feeling so angry at you for intruding
Yeah.
and not respecting them and maybe even causing some family drama, right?
Right.
Because then the family might be like, he was so nice
Yeah.
and why did you
Yeah.
do
Why did
this?
you break up with him?
He was
Yeah.
a great person, she was a great girl. And then now the family's ganged up on your ex and it's not going to work in your favor because now your ex is going to be angry at you for intruding,
Yeah.
Right.
right?
Yeah.
And that happens quite often. So be really careful, even with the family. Just
Yeah, if it's over, unfortunately, it's over.
Yeah.
if they reach out, that's fine. You respond, but be careful about where it goes because even though it seems like they love you and they're loyal to you, and ultimately, where's their loyalty?
It's going to be with their person, their relative, their
Yeah.
son, their daughter, their nephew. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
So, you're probably constantly thinking about ways to reach out. Should I just send them a polite Merry Christmas? Right? And what happens if you do? Right?
Well, it makes their anxiety better. Is remember, even if a person broke up with you, human beings are wired for connection. So even though they break up with you, they may miss you terribly. Okay? And so you don't want to make them feel better by contacting them.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Yep.
The separation anxiety works in your favor.
And also think about yourself that day. So your options are they could either reply or they could also not reply. And so think about the repercussions of that. If they don't reply, are you going to be okay? I also wanted to add that there could be a cultural component to this too, because certain cultures, they are fanatics about the holiday season much more than other cultures. And so for you, you might fear, is their family going to be upset with me if I don't say Merry Christmas? Are they going to be upset with me if I don't say anything? But I think that makes it that much more impactful for them.
Yes, I agree. Because if they get the message, once they get it, they kind of look at it and they're like, maybe relieved, maybe annoyed, but now they kind of feel like they have the power again.
Yep.
I could
That's right.
respond.
That's
I don't
right.
have to respond.
Yeah.
I could respond whenever I want. And if they don't respond, then how do you feel? Probably worse. And then
Probably
you
worse. Right.
regret reaching out. And here's the other thing, is that even if you do reach out, and even if they do say Merry Christmas back, most of the time like that, it's not going to go anywhere.
No.
It'll just wind up being Merry Christmas, Merry Christmas. Now what?
Right.
Now I'm sitting here thinking about, well, they said Merry Christmas back.
Does that
For the
mean
next-
I have a chance?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, it's much more impactful for them to reach out and say Merry Christmas.
Yeah, I would
Right?
agree. Yeah.
Yeah. And so if they do, then it says they're thinking about you, they're making the effort to reach out. Now you feel a little bit of relief and you can respond when you're ready.
Right.
And, say Merry Christmas back and say something like, how are you? And if they're wanting to see, if it's an indirect direct, if they're using Christmas as an indirect direct,
Sure.
then likely they'll give you some kind of response back that you can work with.
Right.
Right? Like if you say, how are you? If they just say good, then
End of conversation.
Yeah.
Exactly.
End of conversation.
it was just a polite Merry Christmas
Yeah.
by them. But if they're like, I'm here with the family and we've been talking about you and we were thinking about how your day is going and blah, blah, blah. If they're opening up about
Right.
what's going on in their life, now maybe you try and even say, well, maybe we can get together. You know, not on Christmas, but like
Right.
catch up soon
Right.
and something like that.
And we'll also have another video covering specifically if your ex reaches out to you on Christmas or on a special holiday. So be on the lookout for that as well. And I also wanted to mention on the family aspect, I'm thinking if they're spending time with their family during Christmas, and let's say they have a particularly enmeshed family, they can see it as that much more of an intrusion if you were to message them on that day.
That's right. That's
because
exactly
they have that
right.
influence, if that makes sense.
Yes, it does.
Maybe you could expand on that, Margaret, what those enmeshed families are like.
Okay. Well, all families, to some extent, struggle with having you grow up, become an adult, and make a commitment to somebody else. Healthy families let you do it, even though they grieve, they mourn, and they cry when you're not around. All right? So if it's an enmeshed family and they saw you as an intrusion and a threat of somebody, for example, who might take their daughter away, they're not going to be happy to hear from you at all. They may have been saying for several days, thank God she got rid of him. All right? Even though he may not have done anything bad. Okay?
Exactly.
But the enmeshed family is not going to be grief-stricken about your absence. Okay?
Yeah.
Enmeshed families make it difficult, sometimes very subtly, so you don't even know they're doing it, for somebody to separate and go off for their own life. All right? And I just want to add while I'm talking, I had it explained to me one time by a child who was in foster care that if she saw one more happy family on the TV, she was going to throw her shoe at the TV. Okay? And she had in mind the ads for this or that they're eating at Christmas dinner and everybody's having a lovely time. The Publix ads alone are awful. Okay? If you're grieving. And we won't even talk about the Hallmark movies.
Yeah.
Okay, that always have a happy ending in the spirit of Christmas. So just remember, all of those things are pressures on you if you're dealing with a breakup. Yeah.
So, we understand that it's a struggle. And, we've talked about this and we've thought about this. And obviously, Margaret and I have been dealing with Christmas for years now and the issues that come up with it. And ultimately, you have to make the choice that you want to live with the consequence of. But before you do, think about all the things we talked about. What if they don't reply? How are you going to feel? Are you relieving their separation anxiety from you and living with the consequences of having to live without you? I think they are.
I think they are too. But I think the biggest fear behind all of the wishes to reach out is that they will forget about you. But as you can't forget about them, they can't forget about you. That's how we're made. And grief takes a long time. Okay?
And I have one more big point to talk about
Sure.
before we wrap up here. Just because they don't reach out for Christmas or New Year's, it doesn't mean that they won't reach out.
Right.
Ever.
Exactly.
Right.
Margaret, I think it's so important for these people to understand we're not just saying this.
Right.
People come back if and when they're ready. And we're not saying that everybody will get a chance with their ex. That's simply not the case, unfortunately. But just because they don't reach out for the holidays, it doesn't mean that they're not going to reach out. It just means that they're not ready to reach out.
And if you don't reach out to them, that could hasten their dealing with their separation anxiety from you. You don't want to make it better.
Yeah, think about how the separation anxiety impacts you in the situation.
Right.
Well, why would you want to relieve their anxiety and stress of dealing with the consequences?
Right. And I also think Christmas is such a loaded holiday. As you were mentioning with the Hallmark commercials, I think for many people, they struggle, with their own families.
Oh, of course.
So they might have
yeah.
an emotional load that they're not able to take on anything more. So it would make sense to me why somebody wouldn't be so receptive on Christmas, but maybe later on, when they're more
Right.
emotionally developed, maybe when they've had some space from you, things might be different. So yeah, I completely agree.
And I can tell you, when I had a private practice, I could expect to deal with the consequences of Christmas for at least 2 or 3 sessions after the holiday. Okay, about people being angry that they didn't hear from people, about people feeling they had been intruded upon. All kind of crazy things can happen.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we know it's a difficult time. We completely understand. We've talked about it as a group. We've thought about it individually, looking at cases and history and my own personal experience and your personal experience going through it. And so obviously every situation is unique and you have to do what you feel is best for you. But based on, a video, not on a particular situation, but looking at it as a whole, we would not recommend reaching out to them.
No.
Okay? You want them to reach out to you. Far more impactful in my opinion.
Mine too.
Okay, so hopefully this has been helpful to you. And of course, if you need our help personally, go to my website, askcraig.net. Sign up for the coaching options that work best for you. I do email coaching and I do Skype. Coach Margaret is available for Skype coaching.
If you feel that I can be helpful, please sign up.
And of course, Coach Victoria will be continuing to train.
Yes, I will be here.
And you'll be able to do coaching with her too. But that's it for this video. I'm Coach Craig Kenneth.
I'm Coach Margaret.
And I'm Coach Victoria.
And we will talk with you soon. To get my help personally, go to askcraig.net and click on Schedule Coaching and choose the option that works best for you. I do email coaching or Skype. To schedule a coaching with Margaret, click on Margaret on the top of the page and order a Skype with her. For the Knowledge Creative Healing course, click on the link at the top of the page and click Get Started Now.